So we're moving on now to our next presenter, also a really good friend of mine, Feliz D. Martino. And before I read her official bio, I met Feliz anywhere from 2 to 3 years ago because time eludes me. And we met at the IANS conference, and I was live streaming. IANS conference is the International Association for Near-Death Studies. She is a near-death experiencer, and I've been live streaming them for 4 years, Portal to Ascension. So I'm in the back, live streaming, and I don't even know how she came up to me or why or what the moment was. I forget, but it was like one of those activations at first hug. Like, whoa, who are you? Like, we need to be friends forever. And since then, our friendship has been growing, and she's also an amazing conduit. Incredible transmissions and energy comes through her, and you're just going to get to experience her in a moment and see for yourself. Feliz is an award-winning educator, spiritual guide, and activator of higher dimensional frequencies who supports individuals on their awakening journey. Her path is shaped by profound experiences, studies with spiritual luminaries and indigenous elders, and a life-changing near-death experience. During this, she connected with realms of light, angelic guides, and the I Am Presence, receives insights into the architectures of existence through light, sound, and vibration. After returning, her extrasensory perception expanded, synesthesia activated, which I think is her ability to see colors, and dormant abilities awakened, enabling her to transmit interdimensional frequencies. For over 40 years, Feliz has impacted thousands through events, interviews, and teachings that blend channeling guidance, brain rewiring, vibrational tools. She assists people in activating the DNA, awakening cellular memory, and supports the embodiment of higher consciousness. So Feliz, let's bring you on. I don't see your camera on, so go ahead and switch your camera on. Feliz, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I am figuring this out because I haven't done this on StreamYard yet.
You should see a camera icon at the bottom next to the audio icon. There we go.
Hi. Hi, everyone. What a blessing to be here and to be present for Zoe's incredible centering, grounded activation of the heart and settling of the nervous system and being in coherence. So thank you, Zoe. And yeah, here we go.
All right, so I'm excited for
Brother
what you're going to be presenting today. And I believe you have a PowerPoint presentation, right? Do you want to go ahead?
I do. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do some PowerPoint presentation and some experiential, so we could really, there's the concepts and there's the activated knowing that we know something that we remember inside, that we just know it. And then there's the focusing and the practicing of the embodied experience of it. So we'll do a little bit of both. And I'm going to see if I could share my screen. Okay. Let's see, share screen.
Do you see, it should say entire screen. Do you see that?
Can you see?
Oh, yeah,
can you
yeah, you're good. You got it. You got it.
Wow. Awesome.
Okay, cool. I'm excited for this because I know you've been peeling back layers of things in the last year or two, and so much more has come through you. So I'm excited for what you've been presenting. And go ahead, it's all yours.
Okay, so let me just ask you a question. Are you guys?
So when you do this, make sure you do it full screen. And go ahead.
Yeah, that was my question. Full screen. How's that? Can you see this?
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Great. I want to tell you guys that I know you see 27 slides here. There are not 27 slides. That are 10, just to let you know.
Okay.
So in considering this, so we'll do about 20 minutes of this and then a 20-minute or so activation. We'll see how this goes. So in the theme of the Great Remembrance came up, what exactly are we remembering and how did we forget? And I put some words up here so you could see. Oh, I just got out of here. And the reason that I chose these two slides are, this slide is very representative for me of my near-death experience when I was merged in with Source in this illuminated blackness that was expansive. It was, I say it's illuminated because there was a luminosity in the blackness, and it was nothingness, and it was everythingness, and it was pure presence and the field of pure potentiality. And the beings that you see emitting from this figure, you can call it the sun, you can call it the light of the divine, are all made up of the same light, right? Like, we're all made up of the same light of Source. And then we come, and this divine spark, Source light that is within all of us, is of the same source. We are all sparks of the same source of light. And we are in individuated form for the divine to know itself in unique ways, right? So this is the part of us that's eternal. This is the part of us that is pure love. Source is love. We are Source. We are love. This is the place from which we co-create our reality. This is the place from which we access pure potentials. We access the potential of extrasensory awarenesses, of connecting with vibrational frequencies and windows of vibrational frequency and non-physical realms. This is where we remember and access our multidimensionality. And as Zoe was sharing, and as people on here, without assuming, have heard or know, we are multidimensional. We have multiple aspects of ourselves that are existing in different vibrational frequencies all at one time. And the how did we forget is, we come in to these bodies, to these incarnations. And when you look at small children and when you look at infants, they're so pure, and there's this innocence. And, there's this saying that when a baby is born, the Buddha is present in the home. And it's such a sacred portal that we're standing in with a newborn. And as time goes on, there's cultural indoctrinations, there's familial patterns, there's, the society and the culture and the time in which one lives. So all of these filters get put through the lens of which we experience the world. And as was alluded to, our nervous system gets activated because it's supposed to keep us safe. However, that's a whole nother conversation about the primal brain and keeping us safe. And there are we and abandonment and approval and and a sense of belonging. So this purity and alignment of our conscious connection with Source gets buried underneath these veils. And what I wanted to share also is that the remembrances that are available to us, first and foremost, is this divine presence within us. And again, as Zoe shared, in this heart resonance, it's like, I like to say, the heart is the portal and breath is the bridge. We are the portal to experience the connection and the remembrance of our divinity and of our eternal nature, of source, of light, of love. And these are some abilities that were activated in my near-death experience. And what I want to share about that, I know there's a bunch of words on the screen, is that this is coming from also prior to my NDE, which was in 2015. I had been on a 40-year more conscious kind of spiritual seeking adventure with, as Neil shared, multiple studies in all over the world with multiple teachers, multiple traditions, and a series of traumatic life experiences. And all of that led to recognizing that the seeking outside of myself was mirrored, that what I was seeking was inside all along. And that's for all of us. And with all that was activated for me, we all have the ability to access our clairs, our activated senses, right? We're practiced at 5 senses, and there's multiple senses that we can experience and remember that we have access to and activate within. Synesthesia, which is hearing, color, and seeing sound, is very activated for me, and like hearing what's typically non-audible to the range of frequency of the ear, of the listening, of the hearing that we're used to. And we can all experience this, along with attunement to the crystalline light frequencies and cellular resonance, which I will share an activation, a transmission from the realms of light in a little while that activates a cellular resonance. It's like wakes it up from its dormancy. And in these higher vibrational states, we're able to hear, commune with, telepathically. Some people experience it in the different clairs, clairvoyance, clear knowing, clairsentience. This attunement to a frequency which angelics reside in, the attunement to the different interdimensional realms of our star brothers and sisters. The discernment between the voice of the ego and the voice of the soul. And again, we're embodied. Our ego serves us, and it's up to us and our discernment to pay attention when our ego is not in service to us. And when it's aligning with the voice of the soul, will be living a soul-led life is most generative, right? Amplified energetics, becoming heightened awareness of the octaves of sound, vibration, and frequency, and the geometries. I mean, for me in my synesthesia, I see it in the air molecules, and I see it in the air. I guess that's all I could say. And I've learned to turn it up and down. And something I want to share is that as one awakens to these abilities and to the remembrances that this is what's possible to experience as an embodied expression of the divine, it's very important to kind of titrate it, because when it's too much too quick, that's when people could go into a spiritual crisis and a healing crisis, right? Because there's so much contrast. So it's okay to go slowly and to accept where we're all at in our learning, in our unfolding. Like, all is in perfect divine timing. And there's no rush to get anywhere, right? That's a very linear perspective. Past, present, future, it's all happening right here, right now. And now is the only place to be purely present in. And returning to our heart And following the breath is a way that we return there. So let's see our next slide. Here we go. So why does any of this matter? I would ask people to put in the comment section, but I can't see the comments, I don't think, while I'm sharing. If I can, I don't know how to do that here.
No, you can't, but I could relay them if you want me to at any point.
Okay, sure. If anyone wants to, kind of share why does this matter to you? Why is the remembrance and activating remembrance of the essence of who we truly are and what we're capable of, and the remembrance that we are here? What a beautiful gift it is to be in a body at this particular time on earth when consciousness is expanding and the earth, Gaia herself, is elevating in frequency. Yes, there's contrast. There's tremendous contrast right now. And that kind of amplifies the light, right? So this matters because we get to, I don't know, does anyone want to share anything before I share for me why it matters, or what I'm shown why it matters?
I'll share what AC said. AC said, "Why does this matter? I want to know so bad where I came from, maybe too much sometimes." And Kara said, "There seems to be so much mystery under the surface, and it brings joy and fulfillment as pieces start to drop into place." And then we have one here from Joyce, because we've all been lied to all our lives, and I'll be 72 at the end of October and was abruptly awakened in 2021.
What a gift. What a gift it is to awaken to reality. And sure, like, we're human, right? So we have reactions. And I'm going to get into some of the practices in a little while of what it is to it's like I've been duped, like, to kind of have the veils peeled back to who we truly are and what's really important and how we're all connected and that we are all connected. And my hope in sharing all of this is that it activates a remembrance within everyone that we are more than our bodies, that we are soul having a temporary human experience. And there's no spiritual bypassing that. It's important. We learn through humaning. We learn through our responses. It's an opportunity for us to grow, for us to practice, for us to realign with the voice of the soul within us. So it's important to acknowledge and hold with compassion and grace those parts of us that maybe feel darker or feel more shadowy or feel denser, to hold them and see them with light and compassion. So this matters on an individual level, on a global level, on a collective level, and it restores unity. We amplify light. We literally affect the field. I mean, this is a quantum physics proven fact, right? That it amplifies the field, who we are being and what energy is resonating from us when we are in alignment with remembering who we are, impacts others. It really has a ripple effect, and it increases peace. It increases the ability to access the potentials of this embodiment. So, and we the igniting divine remembrance creates connection. It creates belonging. It upgrades and up levels the human blueprint completely as we shift into the remembrance. And that then is genetically encoded in these babies that are now being born, who are so much more connected, more and more. So I hope that this makes sense. I don't know if I could wait for questions after. If does anyone want to share anything else about why they feel like this matters? I don't know, Neil, if anyone wants to share.
Yes, there's more here. Michael Flanagan is saying because we know we're living in the multiple dimensions and we're creating the map as we go. And then Julia, it is the nature of who we are and the natural course of life.
Beautiful. Yeah. And this light transmutes all suffering, right? Light transmutes suffering. Period. So, I'm going to save this. I know I put this screen up so people can screenshot it because there's a lot of words. I tried to get it so it wouldn't be all these words. So if you want to screenshot it, that would be great. How do we remember, right? We remember it through who we're being, through what we choose to do, through our intention to remember it, surrender, and allow the remembering to occur as it occurs. And in aligning with the voice of the soul, we can always say to us, what would love say? What would love choose? What would love do? Right? So it's anytime we're feeling dysregulated, and there are lots of breath practices, and the practices that I'm sure Zoe's going to share in her container about returning to the heart and coherence, and that's setting a timer. I have a timer on my phone for a heart math coherence breath, which is breathing in to a count of 5, pausing for a split second, breathing out to a count of 5, pausing for a split second. And Heart Math Institute has shown when you do that 5 times, at least 5 times, it brings us into a state of coherence. And returning to that place to align with, it settles the nervous system and it allows us to align with the wisdom of the heart. What would love say? What would love do? What would love choose? So I invite you to screenshot this. I really liked this slide up to the right because I feel like it shows our multidimensional selves that are existing. Yes, we're existing in this physical form, and we're also existing energetically in multiple dimensional frequencies at one time. Just like you can be connected with someone, have a soul connection with someone, and feel them in the field, and yet not be physically with them. Or you could be thinking, I mean, that's telepathy, right? You can be thinking of someone and they call, right? And you're connecting in that field of invisible coherence. So I'm going to go to the next slide if everyone's to, again, screenshot this. I do want to say, so in my near-death experience, these practices that are listed up here, I was shown from the soul's perspective of all is truly well from the perspective of the soul. And when we come into this embodiment, a way for us to realign with the remembering of the voice of the soul is to practice gratitude, non-judgment, compassion, forgiveness, faith, surrender, and service. And that realigns us vibrationally with that wisdom within, with the soul's voice within. So I'm going to share this this process that we can experience. We can upgrade our and realign our human template and activate a cellular resonance that ignites remembrance. And it doesn't speak to the left brain analytical mind. It speaks into the listening of the heart, and it speaks into the knowing of the soul. I say the knowing, like the gnosis plus the knowing. And before we do that, does anyone have any questions or any comments, or I could wait till the end for Q&A if you want, Neil?
We have one here, just some clarity on what does it mean when you say light transmutes suffering?
So there is spiritual light, right? We are the essence of who we truly are in our eternal nature is the pure light of source. And when we can anchor into that and remember that, that is the place where we remember that all is truly well. And I'm not talking about, again, a bypass. Like there are some pretty dark, crazy things happening on the earth right now. What we can do, though, is anchor in to the remembrance that from the soul's perspective, all is truly well, and be carriers of that light, to really embody that light. When we anchor into that light, if we're having a hard time, it softens the suffering. It softens the densities that we might be experiencing. Just like if you walk into a room and or if someone else walks into a room, if you notice someone who walks into a room and the energy shifts in their presence and they're centered and they're present and they feel light, right? That's a very different experience than when someone walks into a room and they have kind of a heavy, darker, denser energy that can also be pervasive and fill the room. And like, I've heard this saying, oh, they took the air out of the room, right? That's a very different dynamic than when someone walks into a room and they're full of light. And as light is anchored onto the planet, it dilutes the density. Just like when you smile at someone or you show a kind act to someone, and you align with the light, or you have compassion for someone and you hold space and you listen to them, it transmutes the suffering. People feel seen, people feel loved, people feel acknowledged. Does that help? Well, I hope that helps. So yeah, and source is light. And this is a whole, there's non-duality, which is where we come from, which is source. Everything is source, and source is light. And then there's duality that emerges from non-duality to experience different aspects of itself. And then it merges back into non-duality. That was my experience of my NDE as well, in being one with source and then being individuated and then going back. So I'm going to share, there's also something, I've been spending time with a teacher lately who embodies this spiritual light. And I just want to read something. I highlighted some things to read, which is the radiance which the sacred human body is capable of comes about through alignment with the higher aspects of being, with one's higher self, or I am presence, that source light, which is of the divine, which is one with the divine. So, and love is the great unifier, and love is comprised of light. So I'm going to guide us through through an activation. I'm going to stop my screen share for a moment, and what this first picture is, what we're going to do is we're going to activate our chakras, our energy centers of the body, through breath and through sound. We're going to do some breath in this. This is the toroidal field. This is the field of the heart, extends 3 to 6 feet. And this is the energy pattern and the energy movements, which I'll share and we can do together. And it activates all the cells, all the light within our cells. It activates dormant DNA. So in this transmission, this light transmission, here, Neil, how do I stop share? I'm just seeing how to stop share. Got it.
There you go. There you go.
I think, is my sharing stopped?
Yep, your sharing stopped.
Great. Okay. So I'm going to share this. Everyone needs, I'm just going to read some of these. This is what Nassim, I remember the first time I heard Eckhart Tolle say, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, feeling so perplexed. Now I'm just excited and curious to remember more. You know what I like to say? We are spiritual beings having a human experience, ultimately. We are temporarily human beings having a human experience. So we can't pretend that we're not, right? We're human beings having a spiritual experience, and we're spiritual beings having a spiritual experience. And to be in the both and of all of that, with the ultimate reality being that this is so temporary, and our home that resides within us, but when we leave these breathing forms, we will return to source. And that is the eternal nature that's within us while we're here. Nassim Harman, love him. Heart Math Institute, yes. Light transmutes suffering. We got that. Knowing, I knew there was another side to this life. What is a good source to begin learning of this awareness or embracing this other nature? I'm going to come back to that, Veronica. A bit transmute, yes, is a big one, beyond amelioration and softening. Yeah, so the transmuting, it's like the alchemizing, right? Just like compost is alchemized into fertile soil from which new seeds grow, right? We discard our fruits and vegetables, and then we compost it into new soil, right? So there's an alchemizing, there's a transmuting that occurs. And it's the same thing with the energies within us. Our bodies are in our soul. That's a chart. We have a body. We are a soul. We have a body, right? So this body is the animated vehicle, animated through breath, ruach, which is spirit, that divine spiritual breath, prana. This body is a temporary vehicle for the soul's expression. That is I'm speaking from that's my experience, and what feels from a now embodied experience of having that experience that wants to be shared. Okay, so I'm going to share this, and what I'm going to ask everyone to do is, first of all, these illuminated harmonics it crystallizes frequency through sound, through light, through movement that activates cellular resonance. So as the frequency is spoken and expressed into form, whether it's through sacred geometry patterns, whether it's through this stream of light that comes through, it alchemizes it into being. So it also activates our morphogenic field, our energy field, our resonance. It purifies our physical and energetic body. It brings geometric patterns to purify the atmosphere of Earth, because there is the density of Earth's atmosphere. It creates an opening to connect with our multidimensionality that is in communion with our galactic brothers and sisters, with the realms of light, with the angelics. So we're going to offer this to activate the light fields. And I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. And when the sounds come through, it's, again, they're speaking to the cells, listening to the listening of the soul, not to the analytical mind, because this is all beyond earthbound language and logic. So I'm going to ask us to close our eyes and get comfortable. Take a deep breath in through your nose and let it out through the mouth. And again, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And one more time, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And imagining at your root where your sits bones are against the surface, we're going to all repeat the sound lam. So you can say it out loud to yourself. Lam. Now moving up to your sacral chakra in your belly button area. You can put your hands on there, or you can leave your hands lower. And we're gonna repeat VAM, V-A-M. VAM. Putting your hands on your solar plexus between your belly button and the bottom of your ribs. And the sound is RAM, R-A-M. RAM. Placing your hands over the center of your chest on the heart chakra. And the sound is YAM. Now your throat area, your throat chakra, and all of these are front and back. And the sound is hum. So we'll repeat that together. Now the third eye chakra, connected with the pineal gland, right in the center of the eyebrows, front and back. And the sound is Aum, A-U-M, Aum. And the top of your head at the center, your crown chakra, is silent. And you can place your hands on your lap, either facing down or up. And imagine a light high, high, high up above your crown, all the way up into the galaxy. And when you feel that light, we're going to breathe it down to the root, to the base of our spine. And now breathe it out, the base of your spine, all the way deep, deep, deep into the heart of Mother Gaia. And now breathing this light all the way up from the earth, all the way up to the top of the crown. And breathe it out to the top, through the top of your head, up, 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 up through the galaxy, up to that star, up to that light. And again, breathing all the way down from that light, that star, if it's a star for you, all the way down to the root. And back down into the heart of Mama Gaia. And again, one more time, all the way breathing in, all the way up to the top of your crown. And breathing out the top of your crown to the light above, far up into the galaxy. And then breathing down to the base of your spine, all the way deep into Mother Earth. And the next time you breathe in, breathe it up to the crown and allow it to filter out through the crown like a waterfall around you on the out breath. And then breathe it up through the base of the spine, all the way up to the top of your crown, and out the top of your crown like a waterfall all around you. And on the in-breath, breathing it up again to the crown and allowing it to fold over like a waterfall around you. Now take a few, releasing that, taking a few breaths in and out. Putting your attention on the heart center, expanding and contracting with the breath. As I share these light stream codes. A se no uya ha te ki. Ale utaka na hi u sana haai no uya na ha te ki te ki te ki te ki te ki te ki te ki. Hari hrutni ana haai ana haai ana ha. Aya na ha'u takinu uya na ha'ati ku la izu na ha'ate ku zan ha'i tu kana ha'a. Kana ha'ate aze tunuya na ha'a. Ana ha'aye, aye, 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 aye. Aye, allow the light to fill and activate in resonance every cell and molecule and particle and atom of your being. For in the body template, is stored the magnanimous light of your divine human template. Azinu iyana ha'e atikanu uyana ha'ate ki ale ki uzana ha'e. And as the chakras are activated and cleared, you are in alignment to receive these higher frequencies of light, that they may be absorbed into the template of your being. Azinu e atetu kana ale uzana aina u takina ayena 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 ayena, so that your heart may access and emanate on the horizontal and the vertical axis all the love in the universe, all the love within you, all the love of source that resides in the center of your being, as you are a spark of this source itself. For just like the ocean that is contained within each drop, so source is contained within each spark of light that each human is an emanation of. Azin uyana ha'ate kino uyana ha'ale kuna yana ha'ati. Ati tu 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 azino uyana ha'a. A'eyana ha'a. Ayena ha'ana. And it radiates out from your heart, front and back, in all directions, all times, all spaces, all universes, all realities. Uyana e tokina ha'aye, tokina ha'aye, I takinu uzina ayana ha'ali kuna ha'ate. And when you are willing and open and receptive to seeing through the eyes of love, to seeing, experiencing, hearing, attuning to, being from and in love, a vast world of the true nature of being, of light that is on the earth at this time will become apparent, for it is everywhere you look. Azin uyana ha'ate ko. You can focus on the densities that are occurring on earth at this time, or you can focus on the helpers, on the light bringers, on the teachers, on the healers, of which you all are. For these capabilities are encoded within you through the light, as the light, in the light, of the light. For it is the true nature of divine that you are in your embodiment on earth at this time. What a tremendous blessing and opportunity you have to gather in community in this way. It is very important to be in discernment about what is consumed in your thoughts, in your media, in your conversations. It is of utmost and equal importance what is expressed through your words, through your intentions, through your sentiments, through your thoughts. And it is always possible to realign with source, to realign with love, to notice what is occurring in the human physiological body and nervous system. Yes, one must pay attention to this, for it is the form of which you are inhabiting at the moment. And at the same time, you may align with your divine self, which is multidimensional, which is an energetic experience of communing with the various realms of light that are accessible for you to commune with. And these thoughts and these vibrations of what you take in and ingest and what you express will align you with a vibration where it is possible that you may experience the potentials, for they will become activated within you in resonance to the vibration of that which you are consuming and expressing. Azin uyana haate kino uyana haate kinu uyana haate ki ayana uzana haai azana haate ki anahate ki anahate ki anahate ki anahate ki uzana haate ku. So take a deep breath. And place one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart. Anchoring in the light of this transmission. In through the body, grounding it, grounding it, grounding it onto this beloved planet Earth. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So as we calibrate and absorb that, I know we have a few minutes left. Of course, there were more slides, but these things are on their own timing, right? The stream of the divine. So if anyone has anything that they wish to share about this, or Neil, if you want to have any questions. The other thing that wants to be shared is to really get out in sunlight and absorb the frequencies that are coming in through the photons of the sun right now. Of course, be smart about it. You know, what times of the day you're going out. If you're looking directly and squinting into the sun, early morning, sunset, later in the day, and also water. And if you have access to water, natural bodies of water or pools, looking at the light on the water, the sparkling diamond light crystalline frequencies that are sparkling on the water, and also intentioning water as you speak, because putting intention into our water also resonates with us on a cellular level. So, yeah.
Yes. Definitely putting that frequency in everything that we do, right? And water is the best representation of that because it's quite a tangible thing. You could literally like put your vibration in it in a positive frequency and then drink what you just put out. It's like the perfect feedback loop.
Exactly.
So Carol is saying here, my understanding is your soul is light in your body, your energy. And I'd love for you to just elaborate on this, but let me give some more context here. Because I was doing some research on, I was on a show the other day and someone was talking about ancient civilizations that talk about the body as a vessel. And so I was looking it up just now. And in ancient Egypt, they said the body was a temporary vessel for the Ka, known as the life force. In ancient India, the body is a yantra, a spiritual machine or a tool for attaining moksha. In ancient Israel, the body is a kelen, a vessel for divine light. And even in Gnostic Christianity, the body is a material shell that must be transcended. So I'd love for you to go deeper into that, maybe if you want to share anything. And it's interesting that it is this vessel, and we need to identify with it and not identify with it at the same time. You know what I mean? It's like, how do we become confident? Yeah.
completely. I feel like that's where the both and comes in, right? Like we're temporarily having this human experience and we need to acknowledge what goes on, right? And that's where, people can get caught up in that. There's this term that many people have heard of, toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing. It's no, actually we are embodied and our body gives us information. It's the way our intuition speaks to us through our sensations in our body. It's such a sacred conduit. That's why taking care and paying attention to what we're feeding it is really important. In the Jewish tradition, which I was raised, when my dad passed, and I was with him when he passed, and that was a whole nother shared death cosmic experience, which was beautiful, is, the body is lowered into the ground, and rather than machinery putting dirt on top of it, it's we use shovels. And the whole thing about shovel and singing and praying as you put dirt and you try to fill it up all the way is to pay respects to the body, which was the vehicle for the soul in this incarnation. And I found that really beautiful. I never really understood that or knew that before. As a kid, I thought that was a little like kind of weird and creepy, but having that perspective and having that understanding now as an adult was so beautiful. And yeah, it's so interesting that all these different traditions and mystical traditions and wisdom paths and schools talk about, and even Qigong or Tai Chi or any yoga, right? It's the union of soul, body, and this is temporary, right? This is a vehicle that we get to express and experience. And it's really important to take care of it and to pay attention to what it's telling us emotionally, mentally, like all of the things.
I love that answer. I love your perspectives because you always give a different, a good dynamic. Because what you're saying here is, even though they're saying it's the vessel, you could look at that as, well, it's just a vessel. This is the true reality. This isn't the reality. But if it's the vessel, you respect the vessel.
Exactly. And that's embodiment, right? Like we're embodiment. We're not trying to escape embodiment. It's like,
yeah.
And that's why activating these remembrances and these abilities is so fun, because then it's like a whole new experience of what we're capable of. And we get to work with it. It's the way that we learn and grow. And what a gift that is.
Yeah, it definitely is. And beautiful. Thank you so much, Felice. We're coming up to timer now. Is there anything else you want to share? And then also, do you want to stick around until Brooke comes on so you can say hi to Brooke?
I do. I'm going to stick around. And thank you all so much. It's such an honor to be here and to share. And I know that every person on here has their own experiences to share. And we're all in this together in community. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And you can reach me at felice@groundedillumination.com if you have any questions or want to connect, stay connected. And yeah, thank you. Thanks, Neil.
Beautiful. Thanks, Felice. All right, stick around. I'll keep you here so you can say hi. And there's Felice's email, felice@groundedillumination.com. Groundedillumination.com is also her website, so tune in there. And so we're going to get into our next presenter now. And, everything's done intentionally. Who comes on next and the next person after that. But Felice, stick on. I was going to say that you stay on and say hi. Actually, say hi to Brooke.
Oh, okay. Okay. My dear sister Brooke, yes.
Yes, and so I did it intentionally. I knew that Zoe would be a good way to start it out. And also, Felice and Brooke are like really, really good friends. I would say like somewhat besties. And I just figured that would be a good addition to have that kind of synergy in the beginning. You know what I mean? And so I met, I think I met Brooke. I didn't officially meet her, but I think she was on the online IANS conference that they did online that Portal to Ascension hosted back 5 years ago. And that's where I first got to experience Brooke. but not until the live event a year or two later, 3 or 4 years ago, did I get to see her presentation. And when she presented at IANS, International Association for Native Studies, same place I met Felice a year later, it was probably there was a lot of speakers. I was live streaming it all, so I saw a lot. My favorite talk for sure, and not only because of just her realness and groundedness, but she wasn't afraid to talk some real truth and to bring in elements that maybe some people at the conference didn't want to talk about, including a connection to the star beings and how that near-death experience or near-death experience connection actually even opened up more avenues to that. And even though a lot of NDEers do have ET connections, including Felice, you don't hear it as much as I saw the white light, I saw my family, I saw Jesus. That's kind of like a common thread. So really appreciated that, and I'm happy to say over the last few years, our connection and friendship has grown even more. And then Felice, myself, and Brooke got to hang out just a few months ago in Long Beach as well. And I'm just excited to not only bring her here for the second time on Portal to Ascension, but also to continue growing with her because she is really a plethora of wisdom and intuition. And so I'm excited to bring her on. And Felice, do you want to say something before we bring Brooke on?
Brooke is a magical being. And, talking about embodiment, I mean, everyone will get a treat because we love Brooke. And she does have a plethora of wisdom, knowledge, and experience all together about all the planes of existence, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So let's bring her on.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Brooke.
Hey, Star Fam. So happy to be here. Thank you for having me again, Neil. What a treat.
Good to have you.
I am sitting on the patio where, as a teenager, I first experienced my first plant medicine.
Wow.
It's also the patio where I slipped into coma. So talk about being in a portal.
Wow.
When we
Yes.
aligned this and agreed to meet in this space, I had no idea that divine alignment would bring me to the assignment here and now. So just a treat to be with two of my favorite people in this pivotal space. There is a storm about to brew. The birds are all talking. So you might hear some thunder and lightning, but I'm here for it. Whatever the weather wants to manifest. I'm just so honored to just be present with you all. Like, I feel like just being in this sanctuary, this space, this holy moment, this infinite now, I've been just kind of in this beautiful portal of time shifting. And to be present here and now with my two beautiful children who are now 12 and 8, who I met during my coma and near-death experience. It's just such a wild journey because I feel myself as that girl who at 29, which was 14 years ago, slipped into coma. But at the same token, I feel myself as this crone who's helping this person in this 4-decade-old vessel remember the infinite wisdom, the fractals of source, that knowingness that we all came here to share. And what a delicious cosmic buffet we're all enjoying right now. So I am one of those people who always channels live. I don't really have a presentation or intentional transmission that I'm going to share with you today. However, I am going to engage in medicinal storytelling, which is one of my gifts, with the intentionality that we embrace snake medicine here and now, that we really together spiral into the radiant new with grace, fluidity, purpose, and courage. And being in this space, this portal, this home where 14 years ago, I did slip into a comatose experience, which lasted in 3 days of being with the light, with source, with creator, with God, whatever you choose to call the infinite. Being in this space is just really reflecting back to me all of the beauty in the broken glass, the places where pain becomes a poetic portal to the divine. I'm not sure what stories will come through in regards to remembrance here and now. I'm going to let my guides and my intuition take us there. But as we go on this journey together today, I'm going to share with you a poem that actually came through on this patio last year first, as it's a summation of so many of the things that I'm likely to talk about today, and so much of what I feel is very, very, very integral to remembrance. We have such an emphasis within Ascension communities and within near-death communities and spiritual communities as a whole to emphasize the higher vibrations, the 5D, where we're headed, what we're cultivating. But at the same token, in this current dichotomy that we're in this pain portal that humanity is growing through for our collective evolution, we need to be tender, we need to be intimate, we need to be kind, we need to be compassionate with the pain. So this particular piece, which I wrote on this patio a year ago, reminds me of that. You have to embrace it all, the light and the dark, the good and the bad, the enlightened and the unenlightened, the heavenly and the hellish. You cannot transcend your humanity. Embodiment is what naturally occurs when the truth of your soul flows freely through your human vessel. Truth is a fluid, living experience, not a belief system. Openness is indivisible. Openness has no boundaries. Openness is limitless, as are you. Fully engage the whole, and you will know God. So for me, and those of you who may know me through near-death talks or YouTube videos, I have spoke so much about the beautiful peak transcendent experience of my near-death experience. And as I've shared many times before, it really was an awakening or a remembrance of intuitive capacities that were innate to me, as so many of you came into this earth walk with as star seeds, and those of us with galactic lineage. However, because of my circumstances, because of my religious upbringing, because of the culture of origin and the family of origin, the nuclear family I was born into, so many of my skill sets were immediately denied, shamed, stigmatized, as I imagine and empathize that many of yours were too. So to be in this space, to be in a place, which is literally a porch that did not exist when I was a child. This was all open space, open yard at that time. And to now be here and see how it's been redefined, it's been reprogrammed, it's been built up, it's been enhanced. Certain beauties have been cultivated and certain other things you've been somewhat distracted from. It reminds me much of the journey to just arrive in this sacred, holy moment. It's very easy when you share an experience, particularly a peak experience, which has all of the hallmarks of the transcendent, all of the juicy stuff you want to share, all of those things that you say radically reoriented your life. That's all legitimate. But the reality is the hard and holy work of awakening doesn't begin until we take whatever was reactivated, whatever was illuminated, whatever was remembered, and begin to cultivate that into the primal body, into the human animal, as Zoe so beautifully talked about earlier. The physicality, the remembrance through this beautiful symphony of cells and knowing and DNA and spiritual DNA, that's where magic happens. And as I come into this home, which is such an odd space for me to be in, 14 years ago, I had severe autoimmune disease and it was misdiagnosed, and I intuitively knew it, yet I was a young clinician myself and I wanted to trust the system I was being indoctrinated and trained into. However, my intuition kept red flagging that they were wrong, they were wrong, they were wrong, and I kept denying my intuition. At that time, I continued to take medication as directed, and I fell in this house downstairs and went into a coma in the basement here. I'm now sleeping in that bed. And I have to tell you, talk about a magic carpet ride of astral portals. Each night has been such a trippy journey. I have had access and allowance and remembrance of things that I don't often get the privilege of experiencing elsewhere. And you have to wonder how much of that remembrance is a choice. How much has my consciousness chosen to wait for these pivotal portals, these moments, these glimpses to allow itself access? Obviously, we have the potential, the infinite potential, the connection to the one to get to these places at any time we want to. And yet, for purposes I, as a human animal, might not understand, my mind body chooses to open and to remember when it has the bandwidth, the capacity, and the self-expression to allow that, to taste it, to receive it. I'm not unique in that way. We are all that way. It's what we have the appetite for that we allow. And so, as I'm in this space, these portals of pain keep awakening in me. And as I was contemplating today and remembrance and everything Portal Ascension stands for, I kept finding it most intriguing that pain was the portal that kept coming through. But how beautiful, how kismet, how aligned, because right now humanity is in this massive pain portal. And we're all in it together. We're all growing through it together. We're all having the option to either stare it right in the eye and say, show me your mess, show me your monsters, show me your shadows, and let me show you how to love them, or to turn the other cheek, or to remember what we've been told we are, even if it never fit. I can't tell you how many times as a young person, as a young starseed, as an intuitive, as an artist, as someone much more in touch with their galactic and elemental lineages than their human, how alien I felt in this incarnation, and how much I thought my differences, what I perceived at the time to be hindrances, my shadows, to be obstacles. And now, as I sit in this holy pain portal, in this house full of mirrors and memories and stories and beliefs and timelines, I realize that each and every so-called alien or feeling of being otherworldly or different was a tantric invitation into the holy now, into cultivating the awareness, the strength, the stamina, the curiosity, relentless curiosity from the stars, wherein I could be in these uncomfortable spaces and receive them as holy. And so for me, as I'm witnessing this beautiful remembrance that we are slowly walking each other home to here and now, I'm realizing that so much of what we're turning our backs to, so much of what we're attempting to raise the vibration or sprinkle some positivity on, it's actually the medicine. The alchemy is much like the weather here. The sun keeps coming in, the sun goes out. It feels like it's going to storm. There's humidity. You don't know. There's just this feast of not knowingness that is almost, in a way, the invitation to remembrance. We often think when we remember something, when we tell a story, when we assign a feeling or a definition of experience to something, that we are honoring its totality. But in reality, as humans, memory is one of our most flawed attributes. We remember based on the emotion. We remember based on what our mind has coded. The kind of remembering that we are doing now, it's much softer. It's much more delicate. It's much more confusing. And yet, in its own way, it's therein more holy. This remembrance to me is a type of deconstruction. When I lay down in that bed at night and I'm flooded with memories of right before I drifted into my NDE, right before coma happened, right before the 6 months of rehabilitation that would occur, right before the 14 years of integration that would happen before, the woman, the girl, the student, the clinician that I encounter is more of a projection than a memory. She's a constellation of awarenesses I had then. Yet if I have the strength and the stamina to really sit with her in the here and now and invite her to reveal herself to me, she's nothing like what I thought I understood. And for me, as a starborn person who misaligned, misappropriated, shamed, invalidated, and really abused their gifts for a certain period of this earth walk, I look at that invitation with deep humility, with deep reverence, with deep respect, knowing that if I'm able, after all of these years of intimately studying the psyche, the emotions, the vibration, my own narrative of sharing my story around the world, of helping other near-death experiencers, if I'm still able to come back to that person, to that time, to that intimacy with tenderness and with a complete beginner's mind, a new way of understanding, a new pathway forward, a new devotion to the alchemy of the self, to the embodiment of the holy now, to becoming the clearest fractal to the creator that I am, reveals itself over and over and over again. Much like a flower. We think of flowers blossoming and then being this beautiful, radiant rose, but it's actually the act of blossoming that makes it beautiful. It's watching it grow and become something over time. And even the intimacy of the thorn, having something where you could have something so beautiful on the surface, so ripe with fragrance, so willing to share its God nature, and at the same time have this deep earth connection, this part that hurts, almost as if it's the lower chakras revealing themselves on this plant. Being in this space, being in this portal, being in this synergy, this field that we are co-creating together here and now, it offers me, and my intention is you as well, that opportunity to say, in this year of the snake, what is it that I am ready to shed in one complete piece? As I woke up today in that bed after another wild night of dreams, I realized that so much of the narrative that I have told over the past 14 years isn't essentially who I am anymore. It was a beautiful reflection of that remembrance. It was a beautiful reflection of the girl that grew up in this house. It was a beautiful reflection of the girl who died in this house and the girl that was reborn. But now, 14 years later, I am remembering to remember who's behind those memories. And that's daunting and perplexing and hard for the egoic lower mind. But to the higher mind, to the heart, to the upper chakras, to the soul star and beyond, there is so much infinite potentiality there. There is so much hunger, so much passion, so much food, so much nourishment in that holy unknown. So it's always fascinating to me when we talk about something such as the Great Remembrance, or as my now 12-year-old, when he was 6, he called the pandemic the Great Undoing. As he said, everything was going to fall apart, to die, and be rebuilt, and that is what we were all here for. And he is correct. However, to me, as an adult at that time who was putting all the pieces together and attempting to be a single mom and do all of the things, the whole idea that we were like completely dismantling it all to start again was a bit daunting. But in reality, we aren't starting again. the ancient heart, the cosmic heart, the galactic heart, the heartbeat of humanity, the heartbeat of light consciousness from which we all spring forth, that already knows, that already remembers. And in its infinite wisdom, in its illuminate and literally endless co-creation with the divine, absolutely anything we choose to remember, we choose to nourish, we choose to hold, becomes holy. And so being in this portal, this space where on the surface life seems to be really upheaving and the world seems to be showing her shadow, to really be purging her righteous rage mounted over eons, suddenly you realize that this pain is power. This pain is like mulch. It is going to nourish the soil. But what we must first all realize is that the story of that pain, the narrative of the pain, the language of the pain, the sex, gender, place, time, all of those things that we use as finite markers of our humanity, they're not so important. It's important to the individual experience, to the person. But as a collective, we're remembering that each fractal of that dirt is much like the fractal of light from the Creator. It is a pathway. It is an anchor point, but it is not a definition. We need not be confined by it. We need not be defined by it. It is simply an expression. And as I sit in this space, as I watch this weather shape, shift, and change, just like our emotions, energy always wanting to be expressed, we live in a culture where emotion has been just pushed down. It has been shamed. It's been denied. It's been suppressed. It's been stigmatized. It's been pathologized, when all it ever wants to be is felt. Because when something is felt, it has the limitless potential to transmute, transform, and shapeshift. However, when it's suppressed, when it's denied, when it's shamed, when it's victimized by the very people or persons or places or situations feeling it, it gets stuck. And right now, humanity is remembering all the ways we've stifled ourselves, all the ways we've stuck emotions, memories, feelings, even the best of the stuff, the transcendent, the peak, birth, death, all of it. We have a tendency to minimize for what we've been told holds value. But the holiest invitation of remembrance is the knowing that you are the value, that as a being of light, as a reflection of God, as a reflection of infinite intelligence, every single thing you radiate, you feel, you consume, you nourish, you are, every single one. The light, the dark, the gray, the in-between, the messy, the holy, the sacred, the true, the temporal. It is all communion with the divine. And so our call to remembrance, call to awakening here and now, is to be with the poetry of the mess, to get intimate with the spaces where our nakedness is scary, the spaces where our belief systems might be contradictory or confusing or unaligned. Those are the portals. It's very easy when we talk about certain aspects of higher intelligence, or for me, when I talk about integration from NDEs and mystical experiences, which is the thesis of my work. It's very easy to get caught up in a very dogmatic, almost black or white, A to Z, this is how it's done way of being. But remembrance truly is a portal. Ascension truly is a portal. We are dancing through the cosmic multitudes of not only who we as individuals are, but as a collective of consciousness, as the earth herself, as a planetary and stargate system. We are, in so many ways, a rainbow of intelligence reflecting its own light back. And that's the power of the snake medicine this year and the dragon medicine that came before it, inviting us to really look at all of these skins we have worn and what have we outgrown? What are we willing to shed in one unified piece as a collective of evolutionary consciousness, as individuals, as frequency beacons, as holy messengers of the divine? And that can shapeshift. I feel like the thrill of snake medicine is that you get to shed this one piece in its organic totality and be reborn. And yet at the same time, there are multiple skins always being shed. I, as a child living in this house, used to be terrified of snakes. When I say terrified, that is a gross understatement. I was so stigmatized by the Catholic Church that I grew up in and the 18 years of parochial school that I attended that just seeing a picture of a snake in National Geographic, I'd turn the page and I'd toss the book. Like I would freak out. And then a few years after my NDE, I started having visions of a Burmese python, a golden Burmese python that I named Lemonade. And Lemonade would show up in all of these ways, and I couldn't understand why she kept coming into my journeys, and she kept revealing herself to someone who was so terrified of snakes. And I realized very quickly that my shadow totem was becoming one of my most powerful alchemical totems, that the snake was moving from the shadow into a position of divine feminine power, realigning me to my memories of Isis in ancient Egypt and my starborn nature, and also the power of the serpent, a symbol that wisdom traditions throughout the ages, particularly that honor the divine feminine, wore. And now I always have a snake on me in some fashion. And I do serpent ceremonies and wear a snake named Lemonade. Definitely had to find myself a lemonade in the physical, and have learned that this thing that was so primordial in my fear system, it even got me kicked out of Catholic school my first time. I was 7 years old, super, super quiet. I'm actually an ambivert, introverted if you meet me in person, and can be very extroverted, as you see, once I'm in my pattern and in my flow and in my primal sensuality and aligned with my essence. But when I'm not in those places, I tend to kind of hide and be in the shadows. And yet, when I was 7 years old, I was in Catholic school and I was in first grade, and I remember Sister Raymond saying something to my class about the serpent and about Eve. And I blurted out to the class, why are we blaming it on the snake and the woman? And this is a child who wouldn't even raise their hand to use the restroom. But there was something so primal in my knowing that the story I was being told, the remembrance that was being honored for the purposes of the church, was not the remembrance that lived in my holy human animal. And perhaps it was that bit of the Kundalini that was already awakened into me as an intuitive child, that part that was attempting to express itself over and over and meeting restriction every time and just dropping back down and dropping back down, as it would continue to until 29 years old, I have my near-death experience. And so snakes have come through over and over again in the past 14 years for me as a messenger, as a holy remembrance, as a portal, as a way of knowing, as a way of looking at fear with reverence. Because fear, in its highest aspiration, is only ever asking to be remembered as love. They are intricately one and the same. So when we look out now to a world that's aching to remember, and we see fear catastrophizing and peacocking and parroting in all of these hostile ways, because that's where we've given our power. That's where humanity has exerted its muscle memory, is in these lower vibrational states. Yet when we see that, please, beloveds, remember that all fear is doing is what shame does over and over when it shows up. or what insecurity does over and over when it shows up, it's asking to be loved. We have a tendency with these lower vibrational emotions to push them to the side or to suppress them or to say, not now. I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the space. Oh, that's low vibrational. Don't want that. And bypass it. But the reality is these things are on the surface being remembered now as a holy collective invitation. Shame only wants to be loved. When you offer shame the light of love, it dissolves. Fear wants to be held. It wants to be known that from whatever it does, whether it be stage fright. I don't like public speaking, and I do it all the time in person. And each time I get up there, I often will say when I'm in front of a live audience, my fear is present. I'm going to put my hand on my sacral now and welcome my fear for my human. And as I allow that fear, it accelerates, it shapeshifts, it comes up into the heart as love. And from the heart, it's able to come into the throat and be expressed as purpose, as intention, as mission. And from there, it just escalates and escalates and escalates and co-creates with the unified field. So there's so much potent medicine, so much potent power in the things that perhaps as a culture, perhaps as spiritual and ascension communities, we are choosing not to highlight. When I came in to speaking about near-death experiences back in about 2018, there was a proclivity to love and light everything. And I came in, as Neil somewhat illuminated earlier, somewhat as a shadow worker. I came in like love, light, and a whole lot of shadow. Because for me, we can't actually be in the light. We can't offer the gold if we haven't been in the depths of the hellish shadow, if we haven't nurtured hell. And yes, that is a very polar expression of our humanity, because that's what I grew up in. That is the density I knew in this particular earth walk, as have so many of you. But it's not the frequencies we're walking into. As I said, I have a 12-year-old starseed, and witnessing his evolution and his growth as he comes in has been such an ultimate gift of remembrance as well. For as when I grew up in this yard, when I grew up in this home, I had to really hide my ability to speak with the angelics, to see other realms, to, portal jump and to witness other dimensions and to access other frequencies. That was shamed and stigmatized out of me. I was told it was witchcraft. I was told it was dark magic, all of the things. Yet with my son, I have had an emotionally corrective experience in that I've been allowed the gift of witnessing the magnitude of this child's remembrance. And these young star seeds, these young starborn, they're coming in different. They're coming in with less karma. They're coming in activated. They're coming in knowing they're aligned to mission. They don't necessarily have to go through some of the density many of us went through. And again, each and every expression of that individuation, of that certitude, of that cosmic heritage, though they be different, is holy, is intelligent, is tantric, is kismet, is divine. Again, he will know portals of pain that I will not know because of his unique starborn nature. Whereas I have known karma and suffering and death in ways I pray he never does. But all are pathways to initiation. All are the weather our divine blueprints chose. And they chose with a certitude that I really invite you all to trust. I find for my human, as I was trained as an academic, I was a clinical psychologist before my near-death experience. And I trained in a multitude of psychological disciplines and license. Sometimes when I come into experiences like this, as I spent so much time in academia, it's easier for me to come in with a logistical, kind of time-oriented, agenda-oriented, outcomes-oriented way of being. And this morning, as my anxiety was coming on a bit, as I didn't know what I would be channeling or what would come through, or even my intentionality with it, which was new, because typically I have an idea, even if it's just one word, and nothing potent was coming through at the get-go. And yet my spirit kept saying over and over again to just trust, to be in the divine mystery, to allow the mystery to be the remembrance, to know that as a medicinal storyteller, as someone who utilizes the art of lived experience to share divine truths and deeper mysteries, the answers would come through, because the answers are the memory, the holiest memories, no matter what they express themselves as. And they can shapeshift. I tell my NDE story many, many, many times a year to different audiences for different purposes. And yet I can tell you, I've never told the story the same way twice, because the mystery, the language, the frequency, the harmony of what needs to come through from the heart, from the divine, from light consciousness, is always shape-shifting. And that's the beauty in so many ways of remembrance. It's the beauty of so many of us from so many different star systems, from so many different ways of being, from so many families of origin, from such different trajectories, all of the sudden remembering our divine spark in unison. I come to this home, and for so many years, I came to this place and saw it as a portal of suffering. I am a child trauma survivor. I went through 3 decades of very hellish experiences, from all types of abuse I will not trigger warn you through, to domestic violence. And it can be very difficult to come back to the place where so many of those portals were open, and to receive those memories with unconditional love. And yet, the divine feminine and my work with the yin, my work with the holy darkness, my remembrance of my time in my death experience, where there were portals of profound technicolor, ineffable angelic light and frequency and telepathy and downloads and just the juiciest yumminess you could ever imagine. But there were also beautiful oceans of darkness. And in that darkness, the love was contained in the same magnitude, the same beauty, the same holding, the same co-creation that it was in the light. There was no separation. Light and dark were one and the same. They were just different frequencies, remembering light at different hues. And that's my invitation to you, to know that whatever is emitting itself through you at any time in this holy expression of your temporal earthly vessel is an invitation to understand it all. It's so easy when we're indoctrinated into a 3D worldview, or a colonialized worldview, or whatever our family of origin or religion of origin may be, to see things as these finite, fixed expressions. But in truth, we are all infinite rainbows of the cosmic dance of Creator, seeing, reflecting, interpreting, channeling, questioning, dancing with, and investigating its own capacity to be all of the things. And per my bias of dancing with the divine in the eternal darkness and the eternal light, there is no right or wrong. You can't mess this up. You can't mess up remembering. You can't mess up living. You can't mess up any of it, as long as you're embracing movement. And there is movement and stillness There's movement and reflection. Energy is always moving. Just as nature is expressing herself now in the sounds, this weather, the sun has come in and out as I've spoken. It is getting dark again. You can feel a storm on the precipice of the skin. It is movement. It is God talking. It is God remembering. And in each of those memories, the body in its infinite intelligence responds in its own unique way. I used to be someone who deeply shamed and stigmatized the body for the way it responded to its understanding of this physical experience. And yet, as I come back to this place, to this home, to this portal of so many very, very prolific experiences in my 44 years of this particular life, I realize that all of those things that I shamed, and I can give you a very clear example right now as I just flew cross country. I am a systemic organ failure survivor. So my liver, lungs, kidneys, and brain all failed during coma. And I nearly died. 1% chance of awakening from that coma, awoke on my own. However, because of the severity of the liver failure, because the organs were so potently damaged, I have a propensity to inflammation. And so just flying cross country, my body swelled up about 7 or 8 pounds just from being in the altitude. And it predominantly goes to the face and certain joints. It's incredibly painful. And then for me, as someone who goes online and presents, that's what they see. They see the face. And there was this part of me that used to shame and stigmatize that. And I mean, it was very negative self-talk and not kind things that I would say to myself in this egoic, very limited based, perceptual way that was culturally indoctrinated and whatnot. I would see myself that way. And yet a few days ago when I flew here and this happened, and just yesterday, I was like, oh, here we go again. I was like, what a marvel, what beauty that the body, this master storyteller, this keeper of cosmic intelligence, this light being in and of itself, it holds this divine memory and it expresses it in certain ways. And it offers me these portals through which my physicality literally connects me, in addition to an environment, to a part of time and space I might not have intimately recalled in the here and now. And every time it does that, I now understand the body is expressing a remembrance that wants to be seen. Like the emotions, it wants to be witnessed. We all came here to witness our own memories, our own cosmic dance, our own way of passionately and creatively rediscovering the creator within and without. And so my offering to you today is to just be enchanted by the mystery. Do not get caught up in the definitions of good, bad, right, wrong, light, dark, ascension, 3D, 5D, all of the things, because at their holiest expression, they are all one. But the power, the mystery, the romance of our humanity is that we get to cultivate the fluidity in which we investigate them. We get to be confused. There is a holy confusion to the remembrance we're in that is a sense of nourishment. We don't need to know. We don't have to have all the answers. All we have to do is have that open heart, have that radical, unconditional compassion for the self, for the mind, for the body, for the spirit, for the emotion, for the energy system, and open ourselves to the buffet of the divine. And you are it in all your multitudes, in all your contradictions, in all of your beauty. I'd like to open it up just to kind of talk to you guys and questions and answers from here. But thank you. Neil, you still there?
Yeah, I'm definitely here. Brooke, that was incredible. I honestly, I don't remember the last time I had that many goosebumps in a short period of time.
Yay!
Like full body chills. Like what you're saying just rang so true. I even took notes on things that you're saying. There's so much gold there. So yeah, let's open it up to anybody. If anybody has any comments or if you want to share any, ask any questions. But I'll just go on some of the things that you said that stuck out for me.
Mhm.
First, you started out with, in your poem, it was fully engage the whole and you will know God, right? And we've had this conversation before, we've texted about it, about the duality, and that it's all about that experience of that. And you also went into more about the shadow, and I loved what you shared about looking at fear with reverence, and the snake becoming your totem being, that shadow part of yourself. Like instead of being a victim to that shadow, realizing that maybe your worst fear is actually has the ability to be your biggest strength, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah, so beautiful. So we have, maybe we'll read this comment here. We have P. Witt saying, beautiful wisdom of words and fluidic colors of motion and vibrancy, abundant gratitude and infinite love.
Thank you.
So let me ask you this then, since even what you shared about shame and all things, that when the shame comes up, because shame has been a huge thing in my life, right? It's like at one point I was just so angry, I was just like screaming at life, just wanting to get rid of the shame and not knowing how to deal with it, and now reframing it to realizing that it's actually a warning sign. It's coming up in your life, that's asking to be loved and asking to be reintegrated, right? So what are some things that you have done, that, or even other tools that you could recommend for when these things come up, when fear comes up, when political uncertainty comes up, where all these different things in the world that is creating chaos, when there's war in the world coming up and these fears come up, how do we use these emotions and transcend them into things that can actually assist our growth rather than stunting us?
For me personally, it's helped because I do have this part of me that's super analytical and that really likes structure, my Virgo rising part that enjoys knowing who I'm dealing with. So I have certain voices of shame, certain manifestations of shame that behave in uniquely individual ways. And so I have found it as a PowerPoint to name the inner children and the particular frequency of shame that they might bring. That way, I know, I have one part that's a teenager and she just likes to start fires when her shame's aggravated. So she's rebel. And when rebel comes through, I know how to deal with rebel in a way that honors righteous rage without allowing the whole place to be burnt down. So for me, knowing these parts in an intimate way, wherein they're not external, they are expressions of the one that lives within, but they are treated with reverence. So rebel is just as important to me as my angelic Pleiadian parts. And so she gets treated with that same kind of intentionality, that same kind of reverence, that same kind of love. So just really knowing, and sometimes it's not necessarily a name. Some of them I give them more colors because they come through more in charges or emotions, or I see them through my frequency field. So finding a love language, and I do feel that this is super important, a love language of dealing with our shadow elements, so that when you encounter them, the invitation is a welcoming versus a pushing away. When we stigmatize or we shame something, more often than not, we're telling it no, and we don't want to deal with you. However, if we give it a name, we give it a color, we give it a frequency, we're basically opening the door to it. And if we're opening the door to it, we're allowing it more of a pathway to alchemy.
I love that. Thank you so much. And yeah, that's what you just shared, loving all parts of yourself equally, because we tend to appreciate the things that we consider in our own belief systems are the best parts of ourselves, right? So it's like, how can we equally love all those elements? And it's maybe easier said than done, but spending time to sit with it and doing it intentionally, that's probably the first step, right?
Mm-hmm. It's just like with a child. I have 2 little boys, and there's such a grotesque tendency in this culture to correct before we connect. But my motto with my inner parts is the same as with my children. Always connect before you correct. So if it's just as simple as naming its shame or naming its fear, okay, your fear, your shame, hello, how are you? What you doing? How's it going? Before I attempt to shapeshift you. Because otherwise it lacks conducivity, it lacks integrity, and you're likely going to bypass the root of what's actually causing those emotions.
Wow, yeah. Acknowledging it first rather than pushing it away will allow us to transmute it, right? Beautiful. Brooke, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to share as we close out? And then also, where can people find out more about you? Do you have anything coming up that people can tune into?
You can, my website is available for everyone. It's www.brooke.grovehealing.com, all one word. You can reach out to me through there. I will be in Chicago for IANS, which is just next month. So if any of you are at that conference, please come say hi. I have a couple new podcasts and a couple new documentaries that are coming out before the conclusion of the year. And I'm very excited to say that my memoir is almost finally done and ought to be in print at the start of next year. So please check that out. The title is The Beauty in the Broken Glass. It is a multi-dimensional memoir on trauma.
Wow. Brooke, thank you so much for your transmission. You are literally vibrating, and I feel like your whole talk was like a spoken word piece. It was just
Thank
like,
you. I was nervous
like
something going to come through. You know, my mind's always like scared it's not going to work. But
no. It sounded like you've been saying that same thing forever. Like you just had it memorized, but I knew it was just all coming in that moment. You know?
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Neil. I love being with you guys. Thank you for this opportunity, and I'm just excited to see what comes forth.
Yeah, me too. Appreciate you, Brooke. Okay, we'll talk soon.
Okay,
Take care. Bye. Beautiful. Wow. All right. That was a really good infusion of energy, don't you think, guys? So let's we're gonna get into our next speaker in just a second here. Let's just take 3 deep breaths in a moment together, and just integrative breaths as we keep receiving codes and activations. And I have been receiving some activations today, and with Brooke, that was just a whole other level of just. There's definitely tools in what I just heard from Brooke that I don't implement in my life. That was just a reminder right now of that I have the ability to do it, and you know, especially just acknowledging parts of myself that still come up that I'm pushing away, right? So that was really beautiful. So everybody, let's go ahead and take 3 breaths in together before we get into our next speaker. Go ahead and just start breathing normally. Just breathe in and out. Breathing normally. And the next inhale, take a deep integrated breath in. Let it go. Another deep breath in. Let it go. Another deep breath in. Let it go. Now take a big stretch. Big stretch. We're going to take some of these throughout the day. Move your body around a little bit. If you want, go ahead and stand up. Shake your hips side to side. Stretch it out. Get that blood flowing.